So as you can see by the wall behind me, by trade, we're musicians. We're folk singers. We're touring musicians. We've been doing it for 50 years. We've been doing it together for 42 years. And this film, in our musical lives, we play a lot of traditional Appalachian music. We also write a lot of songs. We play in multiple genres: jazz, swing, bluegrass, folk, old time country. We're as happy playing for a square dance as we are leading a community sing. And everything that we do involves a lot of community vibe, and we also have a sort of parallel track of playing music for kids and families. But in 2015, when Marcy got diagnosed with breast cancer, it was a big pivot for us. We're the kind of people who take a pivot and just charge at it. So, we had to rearrange things. We couldn't be touring and on the road for a while. We couldn't be doing some of the things that we usually do. But as the process unrolled and Marcy's treatment unrolled, and of course, as many people know, there are many cancer treatments that make you feel really sick before they can call you well for life. And that's pretty much what happened to her. But in the process of that, she created all this hilarious artwork on her iPad. She'd be sitting in the chemo chair and take a picture of herself hooked up to everything and then cartoonize it and then make funny comments on each different thing. And as those things continued, and she continued making art that she posted on social media so people would know what was going on, I think that people saw a real humanity behind this. They saw a real humor behind it. And I grabbed onto the fact that this was a really interesting story to find an interesting way to tell it. We didn't want to tell a downer story, and luckily, spoiler alert, as Marcy often says, she did, but there were so many pieces of this story that felt important to us. Now, the concept of it being a documentary it is a true story, and it's a true story about her life, our lives, and some of the people around us. Most people don't tell their true stories in a comedy musical, but that's how goofy we are. And basically, we then collaborated with a friend of ours who's a full-time storyteller, actually from near you in Atlanta. His name is Andy Offit Irwin. He's from Covington, Georgia.
Okay.
And Andy is a phenomenal storyteller and a very close friend and in our inner circle. And when we started thinking about how do we turn this into a theater piece, he joined us in collaborating on how to tell that story. And at the time, we didn't have an end goal besides, oh, this is going to be Marcy's one-woman show. We didn't know where, we didn't know when, but Andy was gracious enough to spend a lot of days with us hashing out what we wanted to say, how we wanted to say it. Eventually, we took the one-woman show on the road for some readings and got a lot of amazing feedback, got into a fringe fest, and the next thing you know, the pandemic happened.
Oh,
The pandemic happened, of course, all theaters canceled, and we're sitting there with this show. And after a few months, when we realized, oh, this thing's going on, we're not getting into theaters this year, we're not getting into theaters next year, we're not getting into theaters in 2 years because they've got their backlog. The whole world turned upside down, and we all know that. And that's when I thought, okay, let's film it, because if we film it, more people can be impacted by this story. And when I say impacted, we're always people with multiple goals. We're telling Marcy's story. We're talking about how a virtuoso musician goes from virtuosity to total neuropathy, can't touch an instrument, can't play, and climbs her way back up to be able to play. Still has some neuropathy, but, I'm going to say living happily ever after with the side effects that you live with for the rest of your life. But along with that comes information for caregivers, information for advocates, how to be your own advocate, how to talk to the doctor, how to roll with the punches, And that's what's been so interesting. The other big change that happened, I'm going to let you talk in a second. It's going to happen. Marcy's going to get the talking stick in 1 minute. But the other thing that happened is when we hooked up with the Emmy Award-winning production company HMS Media in Chicago and a fabulous director, Tracy Walsh, the film morphed from the one-woman show to our show with a band. And it gave Marcy more flexibility because I could play some of the other characters she was trying to do. The band made the musical more musical. And so that's sort of part one. And I promised her the talking stick, so here you go.
Thank you. I think.
Are you done?
Oh.
Also, you know, as a reflection of our lives, for our entire artistic lives, we've written all kinds of things, and we judge whether or not we're going to put it out in public by, like, say, a song. You know, if I write a song, I may express my innermost feelings and desires, but the next day I can look at it and say, is this just for me, or is this could this possibly have a life and a purpose outside of me? And often those things just go in a file, and otherwise they're brought into shows. So I think we're kind of our own harshest critics in some ways in terms of material. But with this film opportunity, and just, I have to say, it doesn't sound like it makes sense at all, but the cancer opportunity, it gave me some time to stay home and just try to think and take a step. And there are lots of things that I've really always liked. I've loved comic books. I love comic book art, and I love that somebody for really cheap can pick up this paper story and read it and enjoy it and pass it on or whatever they're going to do with it. And I love various instruments, of course. I like all kinds of music. I don't think there's a genre that has music in it that I don't really enjoy. So being able to put all those things together and record a film, the biggest difference for us is that you have to look okay. You know, 'cause we've made 50 albums. So we don't have to look good in the studio. We just have to wear clothes that are quiet, you know. If somebody comes in wearing chains, we have to say, I'm really sorry, you look good, let me take your picture, but then take those off so we can record, you know. But we use all our skills, including editing skills and sound engineering skills, to bring to this project. But then we had another remarkable team. And luckily for me, every member of the team felt like we had something that would do some good in the world.
And that was amazing. So I'll tell you a little bit about the process, because you talked about, we're married, can you tell? You talked about, you know, helping other people with the process of making their films. We'd never made a film. We'd made music videos, we'd recorded some live concerts, but we'd never done anything. This was a make it up as you go deal. And
are we the oldest people to make their first film?
No.
I'm sure there's other people out there.
So, you know, once we started meeting with HMS Media and put together a budget, I went, holy crap, we need a whole bunch of money. And we worked with a nonprofit fiscal sponsor and created a GoFundMe.
Okay.
For All Wigged Out. And through a combination of the GoFundMe and private donations to the nonprofit, we raised about $80,000.
Okay.
Now, that was still $40,000 less than it cost. And that didn't include paying us anything. But I'm very proud of the fact that we paid everybody. We paid everybody a fair wage during the pandemic to do their best job. And we were willing to take some money out of savings, and we were willing to take money from some of our shows and other things and put it in there, because if we want other people to believe in it, we have to believe in it too. And in fact, the rest of that budget we've made back in some programming that we've done for organizations like the American Nurses Association, the American Music Therapy Association. We've been doing screenings around the country, and we get paid to not only screen the film, but also to be present, do a Q&A with cancer support community, and some live music. So the GoFundMe, you know, when you need to raise money, you're either going to your own bank account, you're going to somebody else's bank account, or you're getting grants. And we didn't have a timeline that allowed us to go after grants. We literally made this decision at the end of March, and we were going to film in July, at the end of July. So that's not enough time to go for grants. It's enough time to hustle and scream from the street corners and do the best social media you can do and use your email list and ask your friends for help and do this and do that. And everybody came forward. But they came forward because it's relevant to everyone. The American Cancer Association now says that by 2030, 1 in 2 people in the United States will be impacted by cancer, will likely be diagnosed with cancer. And that means you are either going to get cancer, you're going to be friends or relatives with somebody who gets cancer, you're going to be in the circle of someone who is impacted, and you're going to want to know how to best help them. And in fact, one of the songs in the show that was written by a very dear friend of ours, Unsolicited Advice, that's like been the hit song from the show, because it really talks about the stupid stuff that people say to you when you have cancer. And there are other situations, stupid stuff that people to say to you when you have this, when you have that, you know, when you have a disease, when you have some situation that, you know, why don't they just keep their mouths shut? But here's an interesting thing. Even during the readings, Marcy did that song, and at the end of one reading during our feedback time, somebody raised their hand and said, okay, you know, when we do that song and that Marcy does that scene, people are sitting in the audience going, dang, I said that once. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. But this smart person raised their hand and said, okay, you told us what not to say. What should we say? That's really useful. That's really, really useful.
So we put that in.
And then, you know, after raising the funds and hiring everybody that HMS Media helped us with, I mean, we had to build a set. We rented a dance studio because all theaters were closed. So we rented a dance studio and built a theater inside it.
Oh, wow.
We rehearsed for a month. Marcy and I moved to Chicago for a month for daily rehearsals, and lo and behold, we're in this fabulous music scene. Some fans that we had never met gave us their Chicago Frank Lloyd Wright house for an entire month while they were away. Free rent for a month, these gracious people. We had a lot of help from friends in Chicago, and it was also an insane amount of work. And till the end, we were adjusting the script, adjusting everything. The director, Tracy Walsh, was really fantastic at helping us continue to fine-tune the script to its best potential. Scott Silberstein, who is the production director at HMS Media. I mean, I just feel like we had an amazing team. And in the end, we got to do that show twice on stage, just twice. And what you see in the film is mostly from the first time. We hadn't even gotten a chance to do a full run through on the set because, you know, time is money and your time is very crunched when you're renting all this equipment and the people and the cameras and the this and that.
And we had a live audience.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
5 people had to be vaccinated and masked, but we had 2 live audiences, and that was really amazing. We knew from the beginning that this was a live experience where for us to give our best performance, we had to have the audience feedback. We had to hear the laughter. We had to see a few tears. We had to see the chuckles, the smiles. You know, one beautiful thing is there was a couple in the front row. The woman clearly had been through cancer and was wearing a wig. The guy next to her, we assumed might be her husband or at least significant other. It turned out to be her husband. But they're sitting there like this, holding hands.
He had his arm around her the whole time.
And when it was over and we talked to them, she said, "You just told my story."
And he said, "I'm her Cathy." And Cathy is my support in the movie. So I just love that. I love that. For being a patient, when I started out being a patient, I wasn't a very good patient, really, because I wasn't patient about being a patient. And to be a good patient, it takes some understandings. It takes an ability to speak up for yourself. It takes an ability to ask for that extra blanket, ask for what you need. And it also just, you get to be a better patient with practice. And so hopefully this will be, considered some people's first practice if they ever have to use it. But it's also quite showing of caregiving. Cathy and I have been caretakers for several people, one for about 20 years with Parkinson's. And we kind of know how to do it. We kind of know how to caretake and also live our lives. So it also shows many aspects of caregiving, some in a humorous way, and like we say, there are some sensitive moments, but there aren't any real down moments. I don't want anybody ever to leave a show that we do or a film that we do or a project that we do feeling down. That's not what we're on the planet for. We need skills.
And hope. And I think there's a ton of hope and positivity in this whole film. And Marcy just happens to be the kind of personality who goes through something like this, trying to see what she can get out of it, trying to make the most of it. And trust me, it's no fun having neuropathy and not being able to walk and not being able to play your instruments, or, having to take 3 days off that you were not hoping to take days off. But I think that life skill for both of us is learning how to take each day one at a time. You don't know how it's going to be. You just have to show up and be. And whatever it is, that's what it is.
And part of that, I think, comes from our training as road musicians, where you never know what's going to happen. You never know really if you're going to get a good night's sleep or a meal. And also, as a kid, my mom was a civil rights worker in Detroit. And that showed me the importance of music, how important music is to keep people tied together, to bond people, to go march, and when your feet felt like they're going to fall off, just sing some more, sing some more, sing some more, and get it done. So there's a combination of life skills here.
I think so. The other thing that we've found in the process of interfacing with so many different cancer support organizations, health organizations, and arts organizations, like the film's been screened at the North Carolina Museum of the Arts, the Rainbow Chamber of Commerce of the Silicon Valley. Beautiful, beautiful write-up on it in GLAAD.org, GLAAD. And I think one of the things that we've really learned is we can do a lot of outreach, we can do a lot of good. But again, for those of you looking at making a documentary film, and most people make documentaries because there's something to learn from it, there's something to teach from it, there's something for everybody to take away. I'm going to tell you that when it's a do-it-yourself thing, the work never ends, right? So we finish the film, we get the edits that we like, we're happy with that, but then you're sitting on film. You're sitting on this $120,000 investment and going, now what am I supposed to do, And we actually had a distributor who was going to put it out into film festivals. They didn't do a good job, and after a couple of months, I just went, okay, I'll figure that out, and I spent a weekend on Film Freeway, which is how we met Something with the Film Festival, and I figured that out. And after they got turned down by, 30 film festivals, we got into about 30 film festivals and got a whole bunch of awards. And, we get turned down by plenty of film festivals, and we get into some. As musicians for 50 years, the concept of rejection we're like so used to it. We've worked with 15 record labels. I have a folder of all those labels sending me rejection letters, and I have a folder of those labels sending us contracts. I have another folder of those labels where we've taken our records back from them. And, rejection is part of being an artist. Not everybody's going to love what you do. It's not going to resonate with everybody. You have to stay true to yourself. But there you are sitting on your film going, now what? And it took me less than 24 hours after that distributor dropped us to get on Film Freeway and say, I'll tell you what, I'm going to apply for 100 film festivals. And we raised a little bit more money. I asked a lot of film festivals for whatever discount considerations they could give us. And that actually gave us a little bit of a launching pad in a way that was great. Best launching pad that we had was the New Hampshire documentary, not New Hampshire, New Haven Documentary Festival in New Haven, Connecticut. And, COVID being what it is, so many of these festivals, if they're not online, they still don't have the crowds that they once had.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
But they had great people, really great people. There was a breast cancer survivor in our screening, a woman in the back who said, I read this description. I've had breast cancer. I didn't know if I wanted to see this. I'm so glad I came. That's an important piece of feedback, and she's going to tell somebody and they're going to tell somebody. But also through that festival, we connected with a distributor, MVD Distribution, Music Video Distribution, and they're now distributing the film. It's going to be officially released in May the 16th. It's already for sale as a pre-sale DVD on Amazon.
Congrats.
But that doesn't mean our work is over. In fact, tomorrow morning at 9:00, I'm meeting with the woman who's going to do a lot of marketing with us, and it's going to be up to us to rejuvenate the social media, to talk about the marketing, to see what live appearances that we can do. And partly because this isn't just our story. I mean, in a very personal way, we tell a story that so many people are going to go through. How can we help you go through this? And even if cancer isn't on your radar, you're going to love the comedy, the humor, the messages, and really, it doesn't have to be cancer. If you are connected to anyone who is having a big health issue that requires more than the average, you're going to get something out of this.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of feedback from young gay people who didn't really expect who found that they drew power from the fact that we've been together for 40 years.
Yeah.
Is it a gay film? For some people, you could say, the purpose of it is being a patient and caregiver and humor, trying to keep your humor through whatever happens.
But there is a 40-year love story in there, and spoiler alert, we're still together. There you go.
No, that's part of the reason why it's so funny, because you take what is essentially a really hard subject matter to discuss on not just a personal level, but on a broader scale, and you bring out the humor in it, so it's easier for people to talk about. And the manner in which you did it, it being like a live show, adds a different element that can appeal to a lot more people who may have, just like you said, have seen the film and said, or a description of the film and just simply said, I don't know if I'm gonna watch this. It's a documentary about this and that, it's cancer, but it's a live performance. This is different. This is showing us something that, it's hard to talk about, but we're presenting it to you in a different manner. Maybe I should go watch this. So.
And I had to think about it. I had to think about being public at all, because I understand why some people aren't. But the more I've heard from people who cannot be public, some people are trying to hide from their families, their own families, trying to hide their symptoms and things. The more
their work.
Yeah, from their work, afraid of people not accepting them as a whole person, and so that really fueled me also personally to just put it all out there. I don't have to do it in a way that's gory or scary. I'd put it out there the way we face life every day. And I have the best support team ever, and also support from friends who would just like drop off some chicken or whatever. All kinds of wonderful support. So we do talk about that in there. Some of my best advice came from men, including I didn't really know how to deal with baldness, and people would pull me over and go, use a hoodie. It's great. They're great. That's why we wear hoodies.
You know the secret now. Why we wear hoodies? That's our secret.
Yeah, there you go. Had no idea. We're pretty excited too about the DVD because it's got some extras going on it that are super fun, and some of them are home movies that we made during that time that were just as goofy, as some of the things that happen in All Wigged Out. Some of them are home movies, and actually tomorrow we're going to film this little segment that's the last thing to go on the DVD extras about all the artwork Marcy created on her iPad and the stories behind it. And so I think that that's going to be really fun too. I feel like I want to go back to something that you said. One of the points of this is to make people more comfortable about talking about it. I've been involved with cancer for a long time. My mother's sister had cancer in the 1960s, I think it was. That was long before every time you turned around somebody had cancer. And it was a little bit like that, not totally, but a little bit like that. And we learned a lot from her too, because in those days she'd go to the doctor with her husband, and the doctor would look at her husband to talk to him about her cancer. And she was a very, strong woman, and she'd go, hey, doc, I'm sitting right here. Look me in the eyes. It's not his cancer. It's my cancer. He's here to support me. You're talking to me. That's really important. The advocacy part of that. I hope that a lot of people in the medical professions watch this film, and that for people who need a little attitude adjustment about how to work with their cancer patients, this is helpful to them. I think that, the whole concept that people don't want to talk about it. One of the first things that we did, one of the first screenings that we did was at the National Women's Music Festival. And there were hundreds and hundreds of women in the audience. And when we got to the Q&A, one of the first things I said was, if we've done nothing else, everybody get out your calendars. Raise your hand if in the last 2 years you skipped your annual mammogram screening because of COVID. Almost every hand went up. I said, okay, get out your calendars and write a reminder that you're making that appointment on Monday.
And that's something we made fun of too. In the film, you may know there's a mammogram segment in which I felt really important to me, but I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted to do it, So I start like, and you're in all these awkward positions. And then I was in a grocery store a day after a screening in North Carolina. A woman came up to me and smiled and went like this, and then she went, guess what I did this morning? So if they can laugh during a mammogram because they're thinking about this scene, great. Or any person having a medical screening test of any kind, you got a body part in the vise, you're not going anywhere, or, they got a needle stuck in you and you can't really move because, who knows what would happen.
But I think that's
make them laugh.
That's one of the things that theater does, is theater offers a place to share your vulnerability and to empower other people to share their vulnerability when that's going to be helpful. It's why this had to be a live thing. It just doesn't feel the same to deliver these lines to an empty room.
No. I guess when I haven't done any performances on the theater in so many years, I've forgotten that. But you are absolutely right. That audience feedback is very important, and I'm actually glad you were able to do that, because I wasn't sure when watching it. The way the cinematography is, the way the camera is, you can't ever tell. But you do get those little bits of laughter in the background, and have me wondering, did they film this live? Or did they add that in afterwards? So it's great to hear that it was filmed live, because that adds to.
We made a choice with the help of the production team. The choice was made not to focus on the audience. You know, you can see like a lot of comedy shows where there's a camera on the audience and they'll flip to them every once in a while.
These people are all wearing masks, you know.
Yeah, we made a choice that wasn't, you know, and possibly partly because of the masking and stuff like that, that wasn't going to be the focus. But it certainly made the room be alive. And I would say that more than 50% of the people in the room were people that we didn't know. Maybe 25% people who knew us and who had a history with us and for whom this would have that additional layer of meaning. But it's a real test when you're in front of total strangers and you pull it off.
Well, and also, speaking of other diseases too, there was a young girl sitting with her family in the front row, and I thought, well, I wonder how she's going to deal with this. She looked 12 or 13. Turned out she was 13. She had the biggest smile through the whole thing. And afterwards, I went up to her and said, "Hey, what'd you think?" And she was just beaming, and she said, "You're telling my story." And I thought, what in the world? She said, "I'm celebrating today. I've spent a whole year without being in the hospital from sickle cell." It's like certain aspects of that story impacted her in a way that reminded of her own story, which was wonderful. So, I mean, I just love that. We would never have those kinds of experiences if we didn't work in front of a live audience. And plus, listening to the laughter, I can hear some people that we know occasionally guffaw. Familiar, whoo, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, after we finished filming, we had this wonderful band, Stacy McMichael and Janet Kramer, and they both had some connections to cancer through family, through their own health. That bonded us immediately, and they were fabulous. So we did the Carpe Diem, seized the moment here, and made the cast album in Chicago 2 days later. But part of the fun of the cast album is that in the film, there's some songs where we shortened them a little bit. We didn't have as many verses. Marcy and I can't sing harmony to ourselves. The cast album wasn't a live album of the film. It's the songs from the film. So, like, there's this great song that Marcy sings a snippet of during the show, "Jesus is My Backseat Driver." She wrote another 4 verses to it that are hilarious, you know. And we could make the band a little bit bigger. We could do overdubs. We could have fun. So in about probably by April 1st, the All Wigged Out CD will be available everywhere. And
DVD, probably.
And the DVD as well. Well, the DVD is available May 16th.
Oh, great.
That is great to hear. So you'll have to make sure to send us links so we can post them for you as well. So
absolutely. I actually already have those links. I'm going to send them to you today.
Yes, most definitely. We'll definitely get that out.
That's so great.
Thank you so much.
That is really so great. It's really been an adventure, but it's made me excited about having more adventures of this kind. We've made very short videos, like in the last year. We did 2 of them, 1 of them. Very relevant to today and unfortunately to 4 months ago. But as Kentucky joins Florida in its Don't Say Gay campaign as law, we wrote a song. I wrote a song with Tom Paxton called Don't Say Gay. And we filmed a hilarious music video with the Gay Men's Chorus of Washington around that song. And you can go to my Facebook page. I reposted it again. More states are going to try that crap, and every time they do, we're posting that video and asking everybody to share it. And the chorus is great. The Gay Men's Chorus of Washington, they're all in their flamboyant red, having fun, and we're in the middle of the audience, and we're all singing, "Gay, gay, 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 don't say gay. Gay, 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 don't say gay." And I'm singing it with the ukulele. And it's just
funny, but their voice, one of the things that makes it a funnier juxtaposition is how great they sound.
Oh, they're fabulous.
The harmonies are gorgeous, and then they're singing this funny stuff.
So we've done those short things, but, you know, we're definitely I have two other musicals in my head that I want to deal with, and
Not me. I'm not doing research again if you do something with a disease.
no, I'm not. I
You got the filmmaking bug. Now you have the filmmaking bug. Now you want to make something else.
I do. You know, here, our experience with filmmaking, besides very short films, is that literally we have 50 online instructional courses on how to play different musical instruments. So, you know, I've got like 20 different courses on how to play the banjo and different banjo styles. And during the pandemic,
I have guitar, you,
yeah,
mandolin.
we both have so many of these. And during the pandemic, we self-filmed no less than 750 instructional videos.
And we've learned how great it is to have a crew.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the other thing. The pandemic came along, and, you know, in the music and arts, everything was canceled. Everybody knows that. It was canceled in almost everything, right? And a lot of people were freaking out, and the two of us were like, oh, we have to do something different? No problem. We've had to do that like 5 or 6 times, especially during cancer. And pivot. You know, what did we do for the next year and a half? We ran 18 online music festivals.
Oh,
We had a blast because the goal was keeping music communities together, keeping people playing instruments. They were home. They wanted to learn how to play instruments. They had time. They couldn't go anywhere. And this was a way, hey, you're not in the same room, but you can see each other on screen. You can play along. We did one yesterday. We had a all-day baritone ukulele seminar. And we had 58 people from all over the world playing baritone ukuleles together. And I feel like, you know, is there a silver lining in what a horrible thing COVID was? I think we could have found that
No.
silver lining without it, and I wish that our powers that were at the time had taken it more seriously and that it hadn't become a huge political divide. But we do have some skills that, when I say we, I mean lots of folks, not just Cathy and Marcy, but we have some skills now in building community and communicating. I mean, that's what's happened with film festivals. The online, you know, you're still making an opportunity for people to share stories and films and other people to receive them and feel them and talk about them. And the thing that has changed for us, for instance, we run a huge ukulele festival here in the Washington area, and it went virtual for 2 years. And when we came back in person last year, the feeling of being in person was so great. But you know what? We missed those people from other countries who couldn't fly into Washington and be part of it. So, you know, I think one silver lining is that the hybrid world is here to stay.
mhm.
We're going to find a way of including more people in everything we do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of my favorite things now. I couldn't do this before when we were live and in person, but during COVID, I did the virtual film festival, and now I'm able to speak to so many different people from all over the world. I love this aspect of the film festival world now. I just
Yeah.
yeah, we're thinking about doing a hybrid one. We did 1 year where we went back to normal. It was not as well attended as we would have liked. So we're trying to figure out the best kind of hybrid of both of those. So,
And I think that's across the
Yeah,
board. I
that's
think you'll find that that's the case with all film festivals. That's the case with most of the performing arts centers that we work with and small community art centers.
Big and small.
The world has reorganized itself, and the arts world hasn't quite figured out where we've all landed. We just have to keep trying things until, I mean, I think that we're still another year or two away from seeing where it all lands. And by then, there's new generations of people involved. And we want to, you know, hybrid is a good thing. The other thing about hybrid is it allows us to include people who, due to varying abilities, can't get out to some of these things. And now we're able to include them in an easier way.
okay. So,
Take your ear off. And everybody, after you watch All Wigged Out in the Something Wicked Film Festival, tell 20 other people to watch it. And if the film festival's over and this plays later, then just go find the DVD on our website, cathymarcy.com. It's also where you'll find the CD of all the songs from All Wigged Out. And
to new filmmakers, be brave. Do what you need to do. If you can plan in advance far enough to apply for grants, apply for grants. But the best thing you can do is pick up a piece of paper or pick up your computer and just write down your plans, write down your outlines, write down what you want to do, set your goals, and make it happen, because it can happen, and this is proof.
And, you know,
We want to hear what you've got to say.
I mentor a lot of artists in the music world, and nobody else has your dreams. It's up to you to make your dreams come true. Now, you're going to want help, and you're going to want to engage a lot of help, but you have to have the dream. You have to be able to articulate it. And once you can do that, you can invite some help and start small. Start small and let it build. Unlike us, who like made a whole dang documentary film, for the first one out of the box. But it is after a 50-year career, so.
You have a lot of catching up to do, right?
That's right. Now we have, I'm going to turn 70 this year, and there might be another 4 films, so I got to get going.
All right. Well, ladies, it has been a pleasure talking to you both today.
Oh, pleasure.
Total, thank you.
I will definitely make sure to get your websites or links for the DVD pre-sales, the music pre-sales, and anytime you have anything you want us to post in regards to your film or whatever you're working on next, just send us an email. We'll post it for you. That's what we do with all of our filmmakers, just to help get the word out about whatever project you're working on now or what you're going to be working on in the future.
That's so great. We're happy to be part of your community.
Thank you for doing this work, bringing people together.
Well, thank you so much. You two have a pleasant rest of your day, and I can't wait to screen your film this year.
Thank you so much.
you.
Look forward to it.
Goodbye. Bye.